What's up, cultivators? It's Jar, and today I'm here with Dr. Onwunali. Would you like to introduce yourself?
So I'm Dr. Kevin Onwunali, and a professor of philosophy, and I've been teaching philosophy for almost 10 years. And I've written 2 books, published those 2 books, and on the 3rd book right now, ready to publish. And I have about 21 articles that I've written and published as well. And then I have opened a research institute, an academic research institute for philosophy, particularly African philosophy. And it's my intention to let us all know what this African philosophy is and how it can be useful in our present day time. So I thank you all for joining and welcome to this beautiful banquet.
Hey, yeah, welcome. And you're going to be looking at these cameras right here. I forgot to let you know. I should have done it before the show started.
Because I was looking at
that camera was on me. It's cool, though.
Okay.
You know, that's on me. I'm going to take blame for that one, cultivators. But
So
awesome.
do I have to...
No, we already did. We're going to keep it going. We're keeping it rolling.
Cool.
So that sounds awesome, though. Sounds like you're doing a lot, right?
Oh, yeah.
Sounds like there's a lot going on. There's a lot. You say you wrote books, correct?
Yeah.
And were these books about the African philosophy?
Yeah. So my first book was on African philosophy. Well, philosophy, but basically African philosophy. And then the second one was on philosophy of law, which is jurisprudence. Now, the third one is also on African philosophy, but this time I'm making a comparison between African philosophy and Western philosophy.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, what they have in common and then what they don't have in common. So my research institute that I opened, where the intention is to be doing African philosophy research, looking into African worldview from different perspectives, including how they study, how they go to school, how they do the architecture, their religious beliefs, their orientation for war, the orientation for law and justice, the orientation for engineering and constructions, the orientation for scientific discoveries, everything that has to do with the African mindset, the worldview.
And applying it to the Western ways of life.
Perfect.
Interesting. That's really cool, actually. I like that. I'm very big into foreign philosophies. And, I think that's all important, especially in the West. We lack a lot of that worldview and that wider spectrum of knowledge. So I think that's very valuable from any country or any part of the world. I think someone willing to come and bring that and express it and teach it, that's wonderful. So would you like to give an example of something that maybe the West would improve on implementing?
Right. So there is this great Western philosopher. He's actually a German philosopher. So his name is Hegel. And Hegel, in one of his books that he published, which is called The Philosophy of History, and he published that book in 1956. So in page 93 of that book, Hegel was accusing Africans that they can't think by themselves.
Wow.
Because
that's a popular way of thought in the West.
Right.
Wow.
The Africans can't think. They can't reason. Someone else will have to think for them.
Wow.
And so because of that, they have no idea of who they are. They have no idea of if there is God, because someone else needs to tell them that there is God, because they just don't have the brains to think that out.
Wow.
So they have no clue whatsoever about their environment. So when I read that book, I really didn't agree with that philosopher. I disagreed with him. One of the reasons why I disagreed with him was because he never visited Africa until he died. So there was no how he could have actually sit in his house and then make a conclusion on how Africans' worldview is, which is incorrect, from that perspective, highly incorrect. So I then had to go into a research myself, and then I read some other Western philosophers. For example, Søren Kierkegaard. So Søren Kierkegaard, he's a Danish philosopher from Denmark. Now in his books, particularly one of his books called My Point of View. So in that book, My Point of View, Kierkegaard establishes how an individual can actually connect to the divine. He also wrote similar ideology in his book called Concluding on Scientific Postscript. So in that work, Concluding Unscientific Postscript, Kierkegaard also reveals that a human individual can only connect to the Most High in a subjective sense. And then gives ways in which this human individual can get to that point. So the first he described as the aesthetic stage of life. And that aesthetic stage of life becomes a lifestyle in which people live by eating and drinking and pleasuring and marrying, and because they just don't know what else to do, or that's the best of life. They want to live the best of their lives. And so they live in the life of Epicureanism, the life of merriment, the life of pleasure. However, that life does not provide that lasting peace that a human soul, a human individual yearns for, desires for. And because of that, the human individual continues to look for that eternal peace. And that collapses this human soul into the second stage, which he described as the ethical stage of existence, or, of life. So in this ethical stage, the human individual now begins to fulfill moral laws and ethical laws in order to get that peace of mind that is far away from the soul, so to speak. And so in fulfilling the duties that is required by this human individual, the expectation is to have that peace of mind, because you go to work when you're supposed to go to work, you be on time, you pay your taxes, you do all the normal things that you're supposed to do, stay out of trouble, just be responsible, be a responsible, ethical human being. Kierkegaard still says that lifestyle still does not give that peace that the individual yearns for, because the peace the individual is looking for is beyond the physical.
Yeah, so it sounds like what you're saying is the whole concept of ethics and morality and all this is created as a way to cope with the reality that we can never truly understand the divine.
Correct.
And beyond what is the material world. And so that's where the source of these ideas and these habits that we form derive from. Why we shape our environment the way we shape it is to cope in a way.
Absolutely.
And that's who says that?
Kierkegaard, yeah, Kierkegaard.
And so what do you say?
So my position is the last stage of his philosophy, which is the religious stage, in which this individual has a personal connection with the divine. And this connection with the divine is an experience that most of the time is difficult to explain.
And it transcends the material one, which would be the second stage, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So can you go from the first stage to the third stage?
Well, you may not go from the first stage to the third stage, because it has to, the experience. Yeah, you need to have that experience to get to the most,
okay,
to the apex. So when you get to that last stage, then you begin to experience this personal encounter with the divine. Well, this religious stage has two facets, like two subsections. The first is what he describes as religiousness A. So religiousness A becomes being a member of a religious congregation. And in being a member of this religious congregation, one is believing to have that peace of mind, because now you have joined a religious group. However, he explains that that's not enough. That what will actually grant this eternal peace of mind, is his religiousness B, which becomes a real personal encounter with God. For example, someone goes into his closet and, in his private mood, in his private time,
he prays.
You connect with the Most High, irrespective of your religion. Even though Kierkegaard, of course, speaks of the Christian God, but that philosophy, from my understanding, spreads beyond just Christian religion, because that system of lifestyle, every religion can, of course, benefit from it. And so when I studied that philosophy, I had a connection with African philosophy, because the African philosophy preaches that the real human being, the authentic African person, is the one that is beyond the physical.
Exactly.
That has this connection with the divine. Now, this human African being has also different aspects of the human body that, it deals with. So it has the body, which is the physical body that we always see. Then it has the one that is called the spirit, and then the soul. But it also has the guardian angels, or the chi. And this chi or guardian angels is believed to be responsible for one's destinies and virtues and fortunes when someone is born. So when a child is born, the child is born with the guardian angels who comes with the destiny of the child. So the child will then grow into adulthood with those gifts from the angels. Now, how will this child connect with the divine as the growing process continues? That is what Kierkegaard describes as religiousness be. So when I read these two philosophies, I then came to a conclusion that actually Africans can think, because this was exactly what Kierkegaard was talking about. And Kierkegaard is a Western philosopher.
There's also stuff that they talk about in the Eastern philosophies as well.
Precisely, exactly. So many philosophies in the Eastern world also have that worldview, particularly the religious philosophies. So based on that foundation, I disagreed with Hegel, the German philosopher. And so I wrote a book refuting the philosophy of Hegel based on that foundation. And then decided to go ahead to establish a research institute for African philosophy, in which people can now research in African philosophy and discover more about this African individual. That the research and the study of this African person, there hasn't been that great force, hasn't been that great energy to research into the African human being, not just about the African resources, not just about the African environment, but the African human being. The African male, the African female. Who is this African male? Who is this African female? How does he think? How does he see life? How does he react to emotions? How does he create things? How does he manufacture things? How does he do his sciences, his artworks? How does he read?
When you boil it down, I'm sure it's much like the rest of humanity, correct?
Right.
Again, proving Hegel
wrong.
Interesting.
Wrong.
Okay, that's really cool. That's an interesting book.
Right.
What's it called?
So the book is called The Therapeutic Function of the Kierkegaardian Philosophy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And where do people find it?
It's on Amazon. People will find it on Amazon. And then people can also find it by emailing me. You can email me on scholarkevin90@gmail.com. And then I'll send you copies of that. You can also find my organization, my academic research is called Soren Kierkegaard International Academic Society of America. You can find it on Google, and then you can find some of the things that we are doing right there. And then you can reach me out on email as well at scholarkevin90@gmail.com. So the Scholar Kevin is spelled as SCHOLAKEVIN90@gmail.com. And I'll get back to you.
All right. It sounds like there's some useful information out there, y'all, for y'all to go do some research. I advise checking it out. Definitely, knowledge is there's never any negatives to knowledge. I like to say, learn, explore, and delve into some new philosophies and some new ideas.
Right.
I'll see you next time, cultivators. Peace.